Okay, day 49 right here. Still missing Eric Braverman. The question I'm going to ask today is, was the Clinton Foundation really just a regime change investor club? And I'll develop that idea. This is Tulsi Gabbard. She was the vice chairman of the DNC this year, a big Bernie supporter, representative from Hawaii. Well, she still is in the Army. I think she's a major in the Army, served in Iraq. And basically, Jake Tapper was challenging her on this statement, which was, is the U.S. funding ISIS? And she said, no, I'm sorry. Yes, they are. There's New York Times, there's Wall Street Journal, there's Washington Post. So she'll be attacked pretty brutally here pretty quickly, I believe, in the press and so forth. But remember this, when Hillary went to go do this topple, these 20,000 stingers was the objective. And the reason why those are so important is so that then she could topple Syria. How do we know that? Zero footprint. We know Mark Turi is still missing. That was the gun run by the State Department to take Libya. And then we know she took Libya. Here she is meeting with the Muslim Brotherhood. And then we know the stingers went to Syria. So both in Libya and Syria, from Tim Sycamore, New York Times. She sold the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and UAE all paid for these. So the question I asked yesterday is, if she's willing to sell the stingers to rebels, then why wouldn't she sell the stingers to all governments as well? So, and you can see here the King of Morocco got this deal for anti-tank weapons after they made that $28 million bribe yesterday. But today I want to go into just really clearly outlining what actually happened. You had the Secretary of State having a private citizen and employee of the Clinton Foundation organizing an overthrow of a foreign government by Gmail. Okay, so here it is. You know, we should, the idea of using private security experts to arm the opposition should be considered. That is a private individual now, not acting on the behalf of the State Department, ordering another private individual who is an employee of the Clinton Foundation to overthrow a foreign government. Okay, that nullifies what they call the state secrets defense. This defense is used for national secrets so that, you know, we don't lose our agents overseas, etc. But when you go outside and go to a private firm, you void the state secrets defense. They'll try to use that. We also have Petraeus sending Hillary 1,000 emails while he was CIA director, and also when he was at CENTCOM, which was the Central Command, which Syria is included in. So, and 30 of those emails answer the search term Benghazi. So we know that she's also engaging the CIA and CENTCOM in a military coup. So my question would be then, why didn't Petraeus testify? Now knowing that there was communication between these two regarding Benghazi, why did his right-hand man, Morrell, testify in his place? So I think the Benghazi committee needs to call Petraeus. But here it is again. A couple months later, Sid is getting General Grange, getting his forces and a plan to take Tripoli. At this time, Gaddafi's not dead yet. So he says, hey, I own a part owner of a private company named Osprey, and General Grange has a plan. So he has the forces, and there is a plan. This plan comes from Tyler Drumheller, who's at the CIA. He ran the spy network in Europe for NATO. And those are in my links. You can see the plans for Libya, Algeria, Maghreb, Sudan. They took over the Sudan a little bit later with the same kind of plan. So the plan was effected. George Capital paid you're going to find paid Blumenthal a nice handsome thing, $200,000 to the Clinton Foundation. It's going to pay Blumenthal for this plan. And it's going to end up, in only 3 months later, end up in the regime change of Gaddafi. Now, let's look exactly what they were going for. Eric Braverman said, follow the money. And the money was not just arms sales. Gaddafi had $1.2 billion in gold, but he used his wife to kind of keep his cash. So she had $30 billion in cash. The Libyan people also had $30 billion. Most of this is going to be 6 oil companies and 1 airline. And then they also had $3.5 billion in cash and assets. You're going to find various reports also on secret accounts he had, which he had at least 65 billion as reported in 2010, but later people reported 265 billion. This is what they were going for, not just stinger sales, but this. So how do we get that money? So you go to your man, George Soros. What you do is you set up hedge funds, and you bet on destability. So you destabilize with either protests like they did in Europe, or you topple like they did in Libya. So you got to set up your insiders first. Your insiders are people in your, close clique, if you will. This is Carlos Slim at the New York Times. He owns the cell phone monopoly of Mexico. And then you set up your daughter, and then you have a fall guy in case it ever gets discovered, her husband. So they have the Greek hedge fund. So you set up your hedge funds. Once you the insiders get taken care of, then you go to your network of 1,100 hidden donors. These are the ones that Clinton Cash, where they won't release the names. This is the Frank Giustra partnerships. So you go to those donors, you take a Tom Nidas and you run them around to the 1,100 key people. These are going to be generals. These are going to be Hollywood folks. They're going to be people in New York. They're going to be people at CENTCOM. They're going to be people over in near Mar-a-Lago. And then what you do is you sell partnerships for these oil plays. So let's say there's 6 different oil companies. You can sell an oil play in one of the companies to one group and another one to another group, keep it all straight. Once you do that, and then the topple occurs, you launder the money. So you launder it through Clinton-Giustra Enterprise Partnership, and that way it comes over to Eric Braverman as just one lump sum of $145 million or $2 billion. This was the Uranium One deal for $145 million. They used that. This is a money laundering mechanism. You're going to find all this Libya money as they move it out slowly, because a lot of the assets are still frozen. They're going to be moving it through this partnership to Braverman. Okay, so here's the reason why Hillary did it. Here she, even before Gaddafi's deposed, she releases the money, the 30 billion. So those are the 6 oil companies I was telling you about. If you look at the overseas foreign asset control part of the State Department, it'll actually show you what those oil companies are and what the airline is. And then they want to go for this $3.5 billion right away, because this is going to pay for not only the Syria coup, but it's going to also pay for the Turkey coup as well. So the reason she did it basically is if you only get a $500,000 bribe, this is the Algeria deal, for a $2.4 billion oil deal, you're going to end up having to do 6,000 speeches to get to the goal of $3 billion needed for the 2016 election. Okay, so this is why the emails are so important, because all these 14 emails from the State Department, Gmail accounts, are not state secrets. Once you go outside the state.gov email, it's no longer a state secret. It's part of an investigation and needs to be published. So all the unclassified emails need to be published immediately in plain text. Any of the classified ones need to be redacted. They can hold those back if they want to. But this is a violation of the Federal Records Act, all these Gmail accounts. So the State Department says they need 5 years to go through these. Well, actually, it's the FBI holding them back. The State Department is listening to whatever the FBI tells them to do, even though they went through them in 9 days. So you got the $675,000 bribe there. You can Google Rule 41 to see what that is for expanded powers. But let's replay what actually happened. You got Soros basically kicking the deal off. Z-Big, you're going to need NATO to take out Libya or Syria. You're going to need NATO, as well as Turkey. So that's why Z-Big is there. He's been doing this since '79 with Osama bin Laden. You're going to have to get arms to the Muslim Brotherhood in order to do this, to get arms to the rebels. And you have to get the plans as well, because without an operational plan, you don't know where the arms are located. So Gaddafi and Mubarak are just the first 2 dominoes to go in this picture. Assad will eventually go. They'll overthrow Algeria to make a lot of arms sales, and they'll also overthrow Morocco. They just don't know it yet. But anyway, who are your players? They're all funneling. When they set these guys up, they have them all put their money in HSBC Bank in Geneva, Switzerland, the private bank that won't release names. But now through disclosures, we know these guys all bank there. Mark Rich, Jaguri, Giustra, Epstein. Of course, he was the one who did the settlement with the $2 billion settlement. So he has a lot of leverage on those folks. And here's Lerner looking the other way. She should be at IRS, should be managing the Clinton Foundation. She didn't. Where did I get this outrageous idea that Mark Rich, would take drug cartel money and buy Gaddafi oil with it, and then put it into a bank like BCCI 33 years ago, or later on after that bank got broken up, HSBC? Where would I get that outrageous thing? Where would I get the notion that he then, after the pardon, donated tens of millions of dollars from arms deals and oil deals? I got that from his own book. He said it in his own words, that this is the operation. So, a lot of people have taken umbrage to the fact that, well, how do you know it's cartel money? Well, the HSBC case, he said it's $2 billion. It was money from the cartels. So, so this uneasy partnership is what I call it. It's been going on for 30 years, toppling governments, taking the cartel money, putting it into buying oil, embargoed oil, and then investing it in other industries. So this, you can see from the Podesta emails that he mainly is talking to this 1,100 investor club all the time. And we can see from the emails as well, Podesta emails, that the DOJ, this is Kadzik, is constantly colluding to try to obstruct justice. We've got a lot of obstruction here with trying to break up the investigation, delay the investigation as well. So here's 3 months ago, Mazzetti saying right out, the stingers are being driven to ISIS directly by Jordanian officers. So here's the stingers. Some of them could have come from different parts of Libya, but then the 20,000 go here. Something happens, he either discovers the sarin gas or either discovers they're going to ISIS, one of the two. But that's when that happens. So this is Fox News from last summer. You got 1,000 emails again between these two here that need to come to light, at least the 30 on Benghazi. So who says that Oman, the last slide was all Oman, Jordan. Everything was in Oman, Jordan. That's where Soros set up his office for what he calls the project on North Africa and the Middle East. Why Oman, Jordan? Well, you got things like this, evidence of Marines dying, saying, hey, we're training ISIS. So they came right out and said it. For Project Sycamore, they came out right out and said that we are training rebels for ISIS for Project Sycamore. That just happens to be on the Qatar to Bulgaria pipeline. You've also got Neil Brown, Eric Braverman's husband, with the Greek pipeline. You've got a George Soros hedge fund there with Chelsea's husband setting that up. Seymour Hersh reports this. And Mazzetti, again, in 2016, McCain's your other player. So what this Juice to Clinton enterprise partnership is with these 1,100 hidden donors is basically just a sovereignty change or a regime change. That's probably a better way to say it, investment club. And KKNR is just the public side of that same thing. They're just remarketing the information through KKNR, but this sovereignty change information. So the 658,000 emails are going to contain those Petraeus emails, the State Department emails, the Clinton Justra enterprise oil plays, mineral plays, Jaguari's pipeline deals. You're going to also have all the other arms deals to Middle East, North Africa. So that we need all those. So I'm going to end it there because we're running a little long today, and I'll go into this more tomorrow.